Okay, I'm here with Amy Porterfield. I'm so excited to talk to you, Amy. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! All right, so for our listeners, I want to formally introduce Amy. A lot of you know her name and have heard either, interacted with her online or on her podcast, but I want to do the formal bio so that everybody knows because not all my listeners are like online marketers. So, Amy is an online marketing expert and educator and the host of the top ranked podcast, Online Marketing Made Easy. She's worked with mega brands like Harley Davidson Motorcycles and peak performance coach Tony Robbins, where she oversaw the content development team and collaborated on groundbreaking online marketing campaigns. So, through her podcast and her online marketing courses, and her online community, she proves that moving away from step by step and into action by action, even for the newest online entrepreneurs, can bypass overwhelm and self doubt and instead generate exciting momentum as you move closer to building a life and a business you love. That sounds awesome.
It does sound pretty good, huh?
That really does sound great. And I want to dig into a little bit about that. But first, I want to hear from you. Um, who is Amy Porterfield? Who are you in the world? We just heard your bio, so we know your titles and all of that. But who are you really in the world as a woman, as a mom, as a business owner, and all of the other things?
Ooh, such a good question. So I'd say I am someone who deeply feels. I'm a sensitive kind of girl, and I have been since I was really little. And I am someone who craves answers, and I like to research and find out what makes people tick and really dig in. So I'm always curious in that way. I am a wife to my amazing husband. I'm a stepmom. I met my husband when his son was 4 years old. So he's 15 now. His name is Cade. So it's exciting to see him grow up and see the man he's becoming. So I'm a mom and a stepmom. And like I said, I'm a sensitive person. I feel a lot. I take on a lot of responsibility in terms of making sure my family's okay and my students are okay. So my head is always kind of spinning with all those things. But I also am somebody who deeply craves peace in my life and simplicity. So I built this crazy big business and I have this crazy life with my husband and son, but I'm always kind of gravitating toward more of a simple life. And how can this be a little bit easier and peaceful? So that's always something that's going on in my mind.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And as an online marketer, you are obviously alone a lot in
Yes.
your office. Is your team, are any of them in person sort of with you, or are they
Great
all?
question. It's a great question because the timing of it is just so impeccable in the sense of I've always had a virtual team, and I always tease that I have a small but mighty team. So we don't have a big business. For so long, I've had about four core people on my team, and then I use a lot of contractors. These days, though, I've had this overwhelming sense that I want a local team. I want to see them. I want to interact with them. I want to have coffee with them. I want ideas to come at all times of the days when we're in the proximity of each other. And so I have been building a local team here in Carlsbad, California, which is right outside of San Diego. And so I have a team right now of 5 women. We're not partial to women. It just so happens to be that way. And we're hiring for a few more. So we'll have like a team of 8, including me. And we work in a co-working space. So I don't have my own office. I have a home office here, but we have a co-working space. And it's new and exciting and different and awkward at times. But I do love the proximity. I think you can run a business either way. But for me right now, that local type of team is working for me.
Oh, that's so interesting because for so long you've done it completely virtual,
Yes,
and
yes, very
so many
different.
people do that. So is your co-working space in Carlsbad outside of your home?
It is. It's about 15-minute drive to where I am here. And we tease that they have kombucha, which is a big thing here in
Yeah.
Carlsbad, on tap all day long. And so they keep us fueled.
And yoga classes and all
Yeah,
that type of stuff.
seriously, it's so California because they have a little gym that now we get to be a member of, and they have surfboards and bikes that you can take out at any time. We don't really do that, but it's a pretty cool setup.
Wow. You
Yeah.
know, the work space that we work in as women and moms and just everything that we're up to is so incredibly important, isn't it? Um,
So important.
yeah, like I had an office downtown. I'm a consultant and I do all these things, and I have little tiny kids, so they're younger than yours, and well, they're not that tiny anymore. They're 6 and 8 now, but
That feels little to me though.
yeah. And so, like 3 years ago, they were really little, and I moved the office. I just closed down the office and moved home because I was like, I started my own business to have this independence. Why am I
Yes.
now driving to an office every day? And it just didn't make sense.
I'm glad you brought that up because, real quick, I actually don't go into the office every day. My team does. They're there every single day, Monday through Friday. However, I don't feel comfortable driving into an office. I started my business so that I could have the freedom to work from home. I have a video studio, I have an office. And so I go in just a few times a week and I create a lot of content and I need peace and quiet for that. So I
Yeah.
stay home a lot.
Yeah, no, I love it. I need my alone time. All
Me
right.
too.
So I want to ask you the life of an online, marketer. You're in your house a lot
Uh
alone.
huh.
You've got all these things going on. I feel like sometimes people think, that like you've got this perfect life and like it's just all, flows so fabulously. Can you give us a reality check? Like, like
Yes.
five
I
minutes
would
ago,
love
were
to.
you like digging through your drawer looking for, you know what I mean? Like, what really happens?
I've got yoga pants on right now that I wouldn't wear out in public. So that is for sure, since you can only see top up. It is not glamorous. I actually am glad you brought this up because I know so much of what social media shows as entrepreneurs that everything is so, so perfect. And right now, although I'm not a messy person, things have been kind of crazy for me. So my office kind of looks like a mess. I went in there right before I came in here and I thought, before I go to bed tonight, this has got to be picked up because I don't typically work that way, but it's just been busy for me lately. And I have a husband who's a firefighter and he works 24 on, 24 off. So one, I get a lot of alone time. And two, when he's home, he wants my attention. So right before this, I sat on the couch and had a cup of coffee with him. Quite honestly, my brain's scattered and I have a lot to do. And I thought, I don't have time for this, but I've got a husband who wants to spend time with me. And so I want to make time for him.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly battling making sure I'm there with my family and I'm present and I'm available. And I've got this thriving business that without me will not be thriving. So I've got to show up for that. I often feel pulled in a lot of directions and I'm constantly asking myself, how do I de-stress? How do I make sure that this doesn't get too crazy? So it definitely, in most days, I'm not in hair and makeup, and I'd rather not be, quite honestly,
Yeah.
but I'm vain and I'm not going to get on video without it. So I do what I need to do.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. And so, what do you do to de stress?
Great question. So I have to really make a conscious effort to take care of myself. It's not something that comes naturally to me. Like most women, we take care of everyone else. So for me, I've set up an acupuncture appointment every Thursday. So every Thursday, rain or shine, I'm there at this woman's office and I love it. So that's time for me. And I also bought a sauna. This sounds so over the top, but it really wasn't, I promise. But I have an infrared sauna in my backyard and I make a point to be in it 3 times a week. It's 30 minutes. I sit there, it's quiet, and I can make every excuse in the book not to have time for it, but it's something that really, really helps me just mentally and physically. So I have little things like that I try to make non-negotiable. Doesn't always work that way, but I try it. I
Yeah.
try to.
No, that's so important. And so, when our lives are, on the Well Woman show, we do talk a lot to leaders and executives and entrepreneurs about just the craziness of our lives and juggling everything. And how do you sort of gather yourself when you are frazzled and like having your coffee on the couch with your husband and like, I have to go do this interview in 5 minutes? Um, and how do you sort of like transition and gather yourself to kind of compartmentalize those things, right? So you can move on and do something else and be fully present.
So one thing that I know not everyone at the stage where they are in their business has the opportunity to do this, but I do have a small team that I really heavily rely on. And I feel like I've taken the time to hire smart, so I really know they're taking care of business when I'm not. That has been something I've worked hard this year on, building out a team that I can trust. So I do have a team to get my back when I'm not present in the business. That was big for me. The other thing is, it's not something that comes natural to me, but I've had to start journaling and just taking the time to write my thoughts down because my head feels like it's going like this half the time. And so spending 10 minutes in the morning journaling, having some routines at night where I know work ends at this time, like today work's going to end at 4:30. And I've told my husband this, so I have to keep my word, and we're going to make dinner together. And we're probably going to go outside and watch our dog play around in the yard. But I have to plan that stuff because if I just say it's going to happen, it never will. Mm-hmm. So journaling and planning my downtime sounds so regimented, but that's how my mind works.
Yeah, no, that's so important. And I want to ask you, because a lot of very successful women have partners who are super supportive, and then others aren't. But
yeah,
we'll talk about your situation where you have a supportive partner. How has that been with you growing your business? And so I'm assuming that your income is higher than his. I mean,
yes.
I just have to kind of like assume that because you're a very successful entrepreneur and he's a firefighter. And so
right. Isn't it sad? He's saving lives, and he literally did CPR on a woman on Thanksgiving and saved her life, and he makes less than me. I know it's crazy, but it's true. And I'm really glad you brought this up because I did a podcast episode his name is Hobie, with my husband Hobie. And I asked him, talk about how you feel about me making more money than you. Because the biggest lesson I've learned is I have to talk to him about it, because if it feels like a dirty secret or an elephant in the room, I don't get to fully embrace the fact that I've created something pretty awesome. I deserve this. I've earned this. This is mine. Yeah. And so, and not only is it mine, it's something that I get to do to support our family. So it's his as well in that way. So we've talked about it, and he's admitted that it is kind of awkward. He comes from a traditional family, and so do I, that usually the man is the breadwinner. And so in this case, it's not. And one, communication has been huge. Two, he also sees his value in my ability to build this business. I didn't have this before him. And so what I love is that he feels that what I've created is partially because of how he supported me in the process to allow me to do so. And I have definitely been on the same page with him about that. I tell him how much he's been a part of it, and I thank him about allowing me the time. Today he did the laundry, he ran to the cleaners because he's home from the fire station, and he took care of our dog Scout, things that I just do not have time to do today. And so he knows that makes huge to me so that I can stop working at 4:30 and spend time with them. So we just have a really special thing, but it's communication. And he feels very appreciated. He's told me this before. And it's funny, this is getting way too personal, but my parents aren't divorced. And after 25 years of marriage, I went to college and they got a divorce. And my mom said, one of the things is, Amy, I never really appreciated your father the way he needed to be appreciated, because she was so stressed with what she was doing in her life and he was stressed. And I think we need to take the time to let our loved ones know how much we appreciate them helping us do what we do.
That's so important. Yeah, being grateful for what they are doing, and really, like, helping him understand that he's a part of it. It's
yes.
because of him that you were able to do that, and that's such an important point. And I also think it's about men being secure in themselves, and that has little maybe to do with what you say to him. It's more him feeling secure as a man and as a provider, and feeling secure and happy with his choices and what he's doing in his life.
So true. When we first met, he was a general contractor. He wasn't a firefighter. Didn't really love the business side of that. He had his own business and it just wasn't his forte. And he was a different man then. And now becoming a firefighter and knowing he's right where he needs to be. He was born to be a firefighter and take care of people that way. He has so much confidence in that it shows up in our marriage. So you make a great point there.
Yeah. Okay. So Amy, I want to go back to you. Tell me, what are you working on right now, and how does it impact women's lives and well-being?
So, what I'm working on right now is an opportunity to find more ways to dive deeper into online marketing for those just starting out or those that don't know which way to turn. And so, what I mean by that is I've always created online courses. They've been pretty expensive and pretty elaborate in the sense of how deep I go into a topic like how to create a webinar system or how to create an online course and market it. But I've stepped back a little bit and decided I want to create smaller, more in-depth topic training, such as how to find your avatar and how to attract your avatar, or what are the 10 steps you need to get started with an online business, like in the very early stages. So I've decided to create smaller opportunities for women and men to dive into what they need, because this is my forte. Online marketing is what I know. And so I just kind of want to expand what I'm teaching and reach my audience where they are right now.
Okay, I like that. And you have a lot of online courses already. What I know that you have the list building course, and I
Uh-huh.
wanted to talk a little bit about that in terms of helping women or men, but mostly women listening to the show,
Yeah.
start off their business. What are some of the kind of tips and tricks about list building? First of all, I think everybody understands we need to build a list if we're going to, get customers.
Hmm.
Um, but what are some of your insights and tips and things you've learned about list building that are so incredibly important that you would like to share with the audience?
I think my first tip I know my first tip when I'm talking to my students about starting to build their list. Most people feel like they should have done it way before and they're behind, like they need to catch up. And I always teach my students to have a list building mindset in all that you do. I always say always be list building. So to have a list building mindset means that on your website, on the homepage, there's some opportunity for people to sign up for something of value. They give you their name and email, you give them a valuable guide or cheat sheet or a great video you recorded to dive into a certain topic. So always be list building means you have these opportunities out there. If you do a Facebook Live, maybe your call to action is, hey, I've got a free cheat sheet. If you like this topic, you could dive in a little bit deeper. Or using social media or paid ads. Always tie it back to how can I build my list? And here's the reason why having a list building mindset, meaning everything I do, there's got to be a list building component in there. The reason why it's so important is that, and I can give you a story from my own life. When I first started my online business, I didn't think about list building for 2 full years. And when I was ready to promote my first program, I promoted it. I had no one to email it to, and it was like I was promoting it to crickets. I had built up my social media following, but that is a fickle audience, and they are inundated with messages every second on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. But when you have a really valuable, engaged email list, they literally are looking for your email. There's a few people out there that market to me that anything they send me, I open it up. That's who you want to be to your audience. And when you have that list, even if it's a few thousand people, you are always able to sell. And to have confidence in your business, part of that is to make money in your business. And to make money in your business, you have to have an audience that is ready to buy. You're going to find that in an email list a lot sooner than you will ever find it in social media.
I love it. Um, this reminds me of when I started out in my early career in politics doing campaigns. List building was hugely important. And
Yes.
that was when we did direct mail. Actually, I'm dating myself, but we did direct
I'm
mail.
with you, girl. I've been there.
And then we started doing email, but really it was direct mail. And I just remember sending off my first direct mail to my database and getting back these floods of mail and checks and things to support the organization that I was running. And it was just amazing. But now we're switching over, we've switched over to email marketing, and it's so important to still really pay attention to that list. And when when people unsubscribe, that's a good thing, right? Because then
Yes.
they're weeding themselves out and you're not wasting your time on them.
So true. I always say, don't even worry about the unsubscribes. They're just saying, hey, I'm not right for your stuff, and that's okay. You can't attract them all.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have any more tips about list building?
Yeah, I think another one is to keep it simple in the beginning. So if you haven't started list building or you know it's something you haven't been too strong on inside of your business, I say keep it simple, get fancy later. That means just focus on one list building opportunity. Like I said, a cheat sheet, a checklist, a guide, whatever it might be. But remember, a name and email today is a hot commodity. Back in the day when I first started to market like you, an address, a physical address was a hot commodity. These days it's name and email. And so in order to get them to give that up, you've got to say, you need this, you want this. Now, part of that is really understanding your audience, talking to them more, listening more than you talk, and also really asking the right questions so you can uncover what they need and want. Once you uncover that and create a lead magnet around that, you're starting out simple. You just have one thing out there that people can sign up for. As you get good at this, you can add layers to it. But I think people try to make it too complicated in the beginning and then they do nothing. It's kind of with everything with online marketing. So keep it simple. Just focus on that first lead magnet, get it up and running. And then you can start adding the bells and whistles.
Okay. Yeah. It can get really complicated really fast.
Yes. Yes.
So when you have your one lead magnet, and this is for all the folks listening who might be really just starting out, or they might not have really dabbled that much in online marketing. They might have a local community that they talk to, but now they're wanting to reach out a little bit more online. When you start doing that and you have your one, offer, which is how you're going to have people opt in to give you their email address, where are you putting that offer? Like, what should people do? They might,
Great question.
They might have a website. They might have a Facebook page. What do people do?
So you want to put it in multiple places. So it's important that you put it on your Facebook page. You list it on your Instagram page. Maybe you talk about it in a Facebook Live or an Insta story, and put it on your website for sure. Also, the About page is a great page to link to a freebie. People are always reading your About page before they read anything else on your website. So putting a link into your About page, anywhere where you feel like your audience will be spending time, multiple places is ideal for sure.
Okay, great. And what was I going to ask you about that? So what other list building tips?
Yeah, I've got one more for you, and that is to follow up with intention. So a lot of people say, okay, so they join my email list, then what? What do I do with these new subscribers? And the goal is consistency. So once you deliver on your promise, they sign up for a cheat sheet, you send them that cheat sheet. But from there, I want you reaching out to them every single week. And I know that sounds like a lot, especially for those that aren't emailing at all yet. But every single week you're reaching out to them because you want to be top of mind. But when you reach out to them, maybe you're linking to a latest blog post that you created or a podcast episode. Maybe you're telling them a story that would be valuable for them, including images and letting them behind the scenes with you. Whatever that might be, you have to build a relationship. And we all know that it's hard to build a relationship when you pop into someone's email box maybe once a month. You will be forgotten so very quickly. So be intentional about this and reach out to them every week, ideally on the same time, same day, so they really get used to hearing from you. That will make a huge difference. You don't have to have a big list, but you do need an engaged list, and this will help you do so.
Yeah. Okay, so what about when you have a list and a huge percentage of them are not engaging? So they're not really responding. They may or may not be even reading the weekly email, and they're certainly not opting into anything that you're offering. What can you do to re-engage, or do you just sort of have to say goodbye to those people?
So you can re-engage. So sometimes what we've done is we've sent out an email with a subject line that will really grab their attention, even something like, hey, do you want us to take you off the list, or something like that. So they know like, ooh, wait a second, I need to pay attention here. And in that email, you want to tell them, look, I'm planning on sending you information about this or that, or I've got a great campaign coming up. Do you want to continue to hear from me? And you could even have them hit reply back to that email or click a link that says yes or no, but give them the opportunity to say, I want to stay on your list. Because if they do, that means they are very much engaged. But before you do something like that, In order to re-engage your audience, you might need to change up your media. So if you're always sending your email subscribers to a blog post, make a video and put an image of the video in the email. Not a lot of text, this keeps falling out. Hold on. Not a lot of text, just a little bit of text and a big image of you on video, like a screen grab. They click it and link over to the web where they can watch the video. So now you're coming to them in a different way. You might need to shake things up and change things up in order for them to engage. One more quick thing. When you have a really small email list, which we all do in the beginning, take advantage of asking them to hit reply and answer a question for you. Make it an easy question to answer so they don't have to write you a novel, but I want you to read it and respond back. If they get that interaction from you, it's so much easier to create a fan for life. So as your list is small, maybe send out an email and ask them to hit reply, but let them talk about themselves. So let them share something with you. One, you'll learn more about them. Two, we all love to talk about ourselves.
I love that. That's such great advice. That's so great. And then what about when you are when you've sent a series of emails and you want to really get them to, like you said, answer some sort of question. What about some kind of poll, like
I love it.
or
Yeah.
survey, to like get to know
Yes.
them better?
I recently have been working on a survey for my list, and there's a great resource that you might want to look into. It's called Ask, A-S-K. Ryan Levesque wrote the book. I think that's how you say his last name. Really good book, and it helps you come up with the questions that you want to ask inside of your survey. And so I needed a little help, so we used that book, but we're going to send out a survey to our list in 2 weeks because I need to know more. Before I create my next big thing, I need to know what my audience wants and what they truly need. So surveys and polls and asking questions, it's all so that you become better. You are able to make a bigger impact for them, but you also become a better marketer.
Yeah. And then, Amy, are you at the point where you're doing a lot more live events or a lot fewer live events? Because do you like to interact, in person with your audience?
So the right answer would say yes, but there's a caveat here. So I am an introvert by nature. Like I wish actually I wasn't. I wish I was more of an extrovert, but I get very depleted energy-wise when I'm around a lot of people for a long period of time. And so typically I'd say no, I don't like to do live events in person. However, I do offer a few a year because they come with a bonus of one of my programs. And I have to tell you, I kind of dread it up until the minute I'm there. And the first time someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, Amy, let me tell you about my business," or "I tried this and I'm doing that," or they tell me about their kids or whatever, I'm like, tell me more. I actually genuinely enjoy it. So I have to remind myself, Amy, when you get there and when you're engaging with your audience and your students, you love it. But for some reason, I really don't love leading up to it because I think it's going to be overwhelming and uncomfortable and awkward. And it never is. So yes, I love engaging with my students, but I often forget that I'm engaging in real life. And next year, I'll do a few live events. I might do 3 a year at the most. Typically, most of what I do is behind the camera or behind my computer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I just want to throw out there that your introversion is probably your superpower. So I just
You think so?
oh yeah. Yeah, those things that we're like, oh, I wish I wasn't so this or so that, or I'm too this, too that. Those are usually our best assets. Those are our true superpowers. Because who would you be without that?
That's a great point.
You
And
would
when you
not.
say that, it makes me want to embrace it more. I don't know how I would do that, but I want to explore that.
Oh my gosh, totally. Yeah, I just had to put my little coaching hat on there
I'm
for a
glad you
second.
did. Thank you. I've never looked at it that way, so I will for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I have a whole like little workshop I do to just uncover your superpowers that way and then start using them.
Oh, so
And
good. So
just
good.
that just popped out like really, really clear. But also when you know I have seen introverts really sort of get depleted by a lot of that interaction. And so it's about, I think, really designing those interactions so that they don't deplete you, but actually feed that energy. Because as you said, once you get talking with them, it's completely energizing, and you don't feel depleted. You feel depleted when it's not, when you're like pushing too hard, when you're making it happen and it's not in the flow, right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
true. And it feels like leading up to the event, we're working hard on making it great. So I'm pushing, pushing, pushing. And then that's when it starts to feel like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. And then it's a different experience when I'm there. I love that you bring this up because I was talking to my team member yesterday and I said, next year when we do events, we're going to ask ourselves, what would make this extra fun for us? Not just our students, but what would make me say, I cannot wait to show up? Because I don't want to create a bunch of stuff that I'm like, oh, I can't wait till this is over.
Right.
And, as entrepreneurs, that's not what our goal here is. So I'm going to start asking myself, what would make this like a 10 on the fun scale or 10 on like, I cannot wait to get there. So I'm going to
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, totally. No, I love that. Um, and let's see, I want to ask you, I want to go into the segment called Superpowers for Success,
Okay.
to wrap up the show. And I want to ask you first, Amy, what does success in life mean for you?
Ooh, for me personally, it kind of goes back to what I talked about in the beginning. I feel that I am successful if I have a beautiful relationship with my family, my husband, my son, my immediate family, if I feel really connected to them. It starts there right away. And from there, I also feel successful if I am making an impact with my audience. And dare I say it, if I am making good money. I know that's a topic that some people struggle with sometimes, but it is part of my success if I'm able to generate revenue on my terms in a way that I love to create and I love to give back. So that's part of my success. But with all of that, in a way that I want to be living a simple life. I truly don't want tons of stuff on my calendar all the time and feeling pulled in a million directions. So if I feel at peace and I feel like this is the simple life I want, I feel like I'm really successful. I am not necessarily there yet with the simple life, but I've got my eye on the prize for sure.
At least you know what you want. Yeah.
Yes.
No, that is so hard. And this is something we talk about a lot on the Well Woman show,
Yeah.
is juggling all of these multiple roles that we have and spreading ourselves too thin and always saying yes and never saying no and
Ugh.
not creating those boundaries. And it's just, it can be really, really challenging
Yes.
to juggle all of that.
It's true. Very, very true. I think half the battle is realizing that you are juggling too much. And then the other part of the battle for me is then learning what I'm going to say no to. And there's got to be a time I say no.
Are you at the point in your life and your business where you can up and go on vacation for,
Yes.
2 weeks
Thank God.
and
Ooh,
everything?
let's not get crazy. I haven't done 2 weeks yet. I've done a successful week and literally loved it and did not bring a computer. My husband and I went to Mexico and I just didn't bring it. And that felt weird and wonderful at the same time. But yes, I 1,000,000% could take 2 weeks off. I just have to get past the fear of thinking that I have to be involved in everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to do it.
That's a huge one. We went away to Europe for 6 weeks this summer, and people say, "How did you go on vacation for 6 weeks?" And I'm like, "It wasn't vacation for 6 weeks. We were living in Europe. I had my computer with me the whole time,
God.
you know." So it's sort of like I'd be on for 5 days, and then I'd take a day just to work when my husband would take care of the kids, and we
Right.
sort of figured it out. And I have this fabulous photo that my sister took of me crouched down under a porch in the rain in Scotland, like
Oh,
on my laptop, trying to get some work done. And it was
I've
just
so
sort of
been
like,
there.
but it's so great to have the freedom to be able to do that.
True. True. I mean, part of me looks at that and I'm like, oh, I hate that you had to, you're trying to be with your family in Scotland and you're crouched in a porch, but at the same time you could say like, I get to be in Scotland with my family and I also get to run my business while I'm there. Now
Yeah.
that actually is pretty dang amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all on how you look at it.
It is. It totally is. And then, but the week away in Mexico with no computer at all, I think that is amazing.
It was. I'm going to try to do more of that for sure. My ultimate goal is to take the whole month of July off. I've been talking about this for 2 years now. I haven't been able to do it yet, but my friend Michael Hyatt does it, and I'm always so envious. And I know if he does it, I can do it too. I believe that.
Totally.
So it's a goal. I don't know if
Totally.
it's going to happen in 2018, but it will at least happen by 2019.
Oh, I love it. Well, it has to be a goal, right, in order to make it happen.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and I love that you brought up what was I just about to ask you? my gosh, it just flew out of my head.
Oh my gosh, I
Um,
do that all the time. We were talking about Scotland and traveling and Mexico and taking time
oh,
off.
delegating. Yes,
Delegating. There you
delegating.
go.
Um, so, in order to do all of this, right, we have to be really good delegators because we have to say, no, I don't have to do everything. I'm going to hand it over and let somebody else
Oh,
do it.
yeah.
And I feel like as women, we have a really hard time delegating the nurturing tasks
Hmm.
more so than the business tasks.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so I actually, about 3 years ago, hired a personal assistant, and she's 1 day a week with me every Tuesday. Her name is Stacy, and every Tuesday she comes to my house, and she does things like what my husband helped today. We're in a holiday week, so she's not here, so he helped today. But she typically will do things like go to the cleaners, do my grocery shopping, return things at Target, whatever it might be, pay some bills, schedule the guy to come. I've This sounds so silly, but I broke a blind in my bedroom, like the blinds.
Yeah.
So schedule someone to get out here to do that and all that stuff. And so she does it every Tuesday. And that has been a game changer for me. And I sometimes find myself still doing some of that stuff because I have this weird guilt. Like, I don't want to ask her to do too much, or I should be doing this because I'm the mom and stuff like that. And the minute I see that happening, I'm like, that's just insane. I've got this great girl that's going to help me. She's so wonderful. So I find myself sometimes struggling with it, but overall, I've kind of nailed it down. So that's been huge for me.
Yeah, no, that's huge because historically women have been valued for two things, right? The way we look and the way we nurture. Like
Oh, so true.
whether we can, nurture the family, have kids, and then the way we look. And so when we think of having to delegate some of those things, especially around the nurturing, it can be really hard.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Amy, when did you know you were really good at what you do?
Ooh, good question. I would say it was probably 2 years into building this online business. I had major doubts that this was going to work. And about 2 years in, I finally created something that I felt good about. Like, I enjoyed creating this course I created. I loved everything that went into it. And it was well received by my audience. It didn't make tons of money, but the people that had went through the course, they got value, they saw results. So I enjoyed the process and they actually got results from it. So for me, that was like, okay, I am really good at teaching content. And I listened to the feedback they gave me and I heard a pattern of, we like how you break down the content and you hold our hands and it feels like we know you and you're our friend. Not everyone teaches content like that. Other people teach it in really cool ways that are different than me. But I knew, wait a second, that feels good to me. I'm on to something there. So I've capitalized on that since that very beginning.
Yeah, because that's your unique thing that you bring
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
teaching.
Yeah. So I had to like really pay attention to hear what they were saying.
Yeah. So a lot of times when I ask that question, people talk about external validation, like
Hmm.
people telling them that they're
I
good at
had a
something.
feeling that might come up.
Was there something internal where, like, for example, the 2 years that you were unsure whether it was going to work, you had to have known during those 2 years that you were really good at this, that you just needed to stick at it.
Okay, you're right about that. So when I worked for Tony Robbins, I was behind the scenes and I really didn't do anything like I do now. And so there was always a voice that I knew I was meant to do my own thing. I didn't want a boss. I didn't want any man, quite honestly, telling me what to do. I might have some daddy issues with that one, but I just wanted to call the shots and be my own person. There was this nagging voice with that, but over time, I think those 2 years where I struggled, I do think I believed in the fact that I was a good teacher. Like, I knew that I added value when I would teach whatever it was I was teaching. Even before people bought my stuff or told me that I was doing a good job, something inside me clicked that I knew that was there. It didn't show its head often. I was more insecure than I was secure. But you're right. I do think there was a knowing. There was a little faint voice that got louder over time.
Yeah, and just tapping into that voice when you really needed to was probably crucial
Yes.
in order to
So
get
true.
where you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Amy, can you describe a personal habit that contributes to your well-being? Because we all know that we have to, I mean, in order to do everything you do, which is amazing, you
Yeah.
have to have a sense of well-being and like, taking
Yes.
care of yourself.
So this one, I don't know if this sounds silly or not, but I am a stickler for 8 hours of sleep. And no matter what, because back in my corporate days, I'd stay up till midnight, 1 o'clock trying to finish a project. Those days are far gone. And so I go to bed at 10 o'clock and I wake up usually around 6. And I always, like 99.9% of the time, get 8 hours of sleep every night. And I hear hustlers in the internet marketing industry, like they're hustling, doing big things, like you only need 5 hours of sleep. And that does not work for me. And so I'm rarely sick, and I feel good most days. And I really do contribute it to my 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, no, that's so important. Isn't it funny how, sort of several years ago, you would have looked at that and been like, there's no way.
No,
That's impossible.
I'm not working hard enough. I'd
Yeah,
say, like, I'm not hustling. I'm not working hard enough. How bad do I really want it? These days, I'm like, I really want it. And that means that I got to feel good every morning.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. It's when you make it your reality and you can see the benefits of it that you really can stick with it.
so true.
Um, okay, what superpower did you discover you had only to realize it was there all the time?
Ooh, it's such a good question. I realized, let me think really just for a quick second. A superpower that I realized I had, that you said then I realized I had it all along,
Mm-hmm.
I think is my ability, this is something fairly new, to really understand where somebody is coming from, putting myself in their shoes and having a lot of compassion and empathy for them. And the reason why this came about is I noticed I was actually being very judgmental. And I'm judgmental of myself, and it was coming out and me being judgmental of other people about silly stuff. And I'd hear myself and think, I don't want to be that person. And so I kind of switched it, and I've worked hard on this to say, I want to be more empathetic and compassionate. Who knows what this person is going through? And I started to tell myself everyone's doing the very best that they can. So that started to happen, and I realized, wait a second, deep down, I think I've always been this way. Somehow or another, it kind of got a little messy along the way as I was harder on myself. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I really do think I can empathize with people very easily.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely something that introverts do a lot.
Oh, there you go. That I'm being true to me, that's for sure.
Tying it back to that. Um, so what do you do when you get knocked down? Like, what's your resilience like? What do you do when you just have like something just didn't work out the way you wanted it to, or you get bad news or something?
So I do have an ability to really turn inwards and know that I get to choose exactly how I feel about something. So I really work on my mind game a lot. However, beyond that, I want to add that I have a really small but amazing support system. All I need to do is tell my husband something I'm worried about or something I'm thinking, and he'll put it in perspective, not sugarcoat it, but like bring out the reality of the situation because he knows me so well. Or I call my mom, and I've called my mom all the time since I was really young and went to college. Like, she is a phone call away and she knows me so well. So I go to the people that know me well, that can give it to me straight, but also have compassion for me and where I'm at. So I
Yeah,
have a great support system.
that's so important. And
Yeah.
actually, that's one of the common themes that always emerges from successful women is having that kind of support system.
Oh, good. I love that. I love these little tidbits of knowledge that you have that just kind of fascinate me. I really genuinely love when you share that stuff.
Oh, cool. Okay, so only a few more questions. What advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
Oh, chill out, calm down, stop worrying. I have been a worrier, my mom said, since I was a little girl. And I would tell her, well, if I don't worry, something bad's going to happen, which is terrible. I know, like, that's not how you want to live your life. But back when I was 25, I'd say, you're going to figure it out. You have everything you need to figure it out. I wish so bad that I would have just chilled out a little bit back then. So that's what I would tell her.
Would she have listened?
No, I don't think at all. You know, it's so great that you brought up this question. I saw a picture of me in my very first year of my online business. And so it was 2009. And not only did I look so much younger, that kills me. I feel like being a woman that's center stage on video, I hate aging on video. I have to tell you, I'm working on that because I don't want it to bring me down. But you said it so right that we're expected to look good. And so I hate that part of our society and feeling that. So I want to change it in me and those that I support. But that's not the point. My point being, I saw this girl, me, in this picture in 2009, and I did have that moment where I looked at her and I thought, oh, you sweet girl, like you have everything ahead of you. You're going to be just fine. I wish I could have told her it's going to be okay. So give yourself a little slack. So I do have compassion for who I was back then.
Oh, that's so important, though.
Yeah.
That's such a huge part of that process is to have compassion for your younger self.
Yeah.
So, Amy, do you identify as a feminist?
I do 100%. And I've got, like I told you, I think I mentioned my son, Cade, being 15. I think it's important for him to understand that his stepmom is a feminist and what that means. So we talk about it a lot.
That's good. And it's so important for boys and men to
Yes.
really get it. I mean, it more and more so we're hearing, about things and just our world and our country.
So
um,
true.
so it's really important. So last question for you, Amy, on a lighter note, for our listeners, what are you reading right now? What's on your nightstand?
Ooh, there's this book called Rest. I don't know exactly who it's from. I just started it. It is so good though, because it really truly is where I want to get to that simpler life. I want to not rest in the sense I got enough sleep, but just rest my mind a little bit. So that's something that I'm reading. But I also have to tell you, I listen to a lot of podcasts, not necessarily all business podcasts. I love the podcasts that are about storytelling. And I take my dog on a walk every day, Scout, and I take Scout on a walk and I listen to these really entertaining or empowering podcasts that are storytelling. And it quiets my mind and it allows me to remember that it's not all about work. There's other stuff out there than just the work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my thing lately.
Ooh, good tips.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, Amy, this has been so awesome talking to you. Thank you so, so very much for being on the show today.
Thank you for the intelligent questions and the questions that actually mean something. I really appreciate it. And I really, truly enjoyed talking to you as well.
Oh, thanks, Amy.
Bye.